Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second session of this conference called Your Future Career in a Post-COVID-19 World, Challenges, Trends, and Opportunities. This morning, I'm joined by Ms. Alison Mayton, which is one of our lecturers in the London campus. She is a senior lecturer, actually, in hospitality and tourism management, as well as being the course director for MSc International Hospitality and Tourism Management at our London campus. So for those of you who are applying or thinking of coming to study in the UK hospitality, today she's going to talk to us about the challenges of the hospitality and tourism industry in a COVID-19 world. Over to you, Alison.
Thank you very much, Flo, for that lovely introduction. Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me this morning. So today we're going to have a look at the impact that COVID-19 has had on the tourism and hospitality industry, and also trying to look forward for how the industry might recover. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the UK hospitality out-of-home leisure sector, starting with the food service sector. So first of all, we'll look at this report from Mintel, it's essentially looking at the fact that the pandemic has acted as a catalyst for digital services that will allow customers to replicate out-of-home experiences at home. Now, one of the this is a great example of companies adapting to survive. So we've just gone through one of the most busy times for the industry normally, which would have been St. Valentine's Day. So places like the Shangri-La have done packages for their normal experiences in the hotel to come out of the hotel. So they did a package costing about £250, but it was their spa package. So there was dressing gowns branded by the hotel, champagne, candles, bath essence, this kind of thing. So it really forced companies to think, what can we do differently so that our customers don't forget about us during this time? But we're still making some revenues. So we've got the short to medium term. It looks a little bit bleak, and it has been very bleak for our industry. So Mintel is saying that the out-of-home leisure sector will take at least 24 months to, will be really suffering for the first 24 months of the pandemic, and we know that this has definitely been the case. Certainly within the UK sector, they have endured 3 lockdowns now, which has had a catastrophic effect for many businesses within the sector. It will take around sort of 2 to 5 years for us to show any kinds of recovery back to the sort of pre-2019 levels where our industry was. But we are starting to see some positive signs. As I've said, we've seen lots of innovations. We've seen lots of these at-home experience boxes, subscription boxes, these kind of things that have been really positive, and meant that it's keeping the brand in people's mind whilst we are locked down at home. But we know that demand is still there. So we know that people are really looking forward to places opening up again, and it will we will see, I'm sure, a big resurgence in the industry within the next sort of 6 months to a year. It hasn't all been doom and gloom, so there's been some opportunities as well as threats that have arisen for the out-of-home leisure sector. So we know that for some parts of the sector it may be too slow for many venues, and this will be interesting for consumers to see what competition is actually left after the pandemic has finished. We know that certainly one part of the sector that's been particularly hard hit is nightclubs. They've not been able to reopen at all during this time. And the positive side of it, as I've mentioned, the underlying demand for experiences has gone nowhere. It will remain strong. This demand has been suppressed for so long now for many parts, not just of the UK market, but the global market, that many people will be really keen to restart their out-of-home leisure experiences. So this is just evidence to show that we're looking at around about 2024 before we see any kind of recovery to the pre-2019 levels in terms of industry market value. And you can see here the impact in 2020 that the pandemic had on the value of this market. So some other really good experiences that have come out of the out-of-home leisure sector but gone into our homes are things like dining at home boxes. So some of you might be familiar with the celebrity chef Rick Stein. He has many different restaurants around the world focusing on seafood, and based largely in the Cornwall, Padstow kind of area of England. And one of the things that they did, because they came very close to losing some of their businesses due to COVID-19, they have created at-home dining boxes, so a meal for two that you can cook at home with all of the instructions that would have been given, and it's essentially like eating, having the same kind of experience as being in the restaurant. Now, there's a point that's made here that actually I don't agree with. So the analyst from Mintel here is saying that we will head out for meals or drinks less frequently than in the past, and many will be encouraged to spend more when doing so and make it more of a special occasion. I don't think we're really going to need much of an excuse to go out for meals or drinks or coffees or anything like this anymore. I think that this has been gone on for far longer than most of us hoped or expected, and I think that maybe just because, hey, it's a Tuesday night, we might just go out for a meal to make the most of it. So this is looking again at the recovery of the food service industry, and again we're still looking at around 2024, 2025 before we see any recovery to the pre-2019 levels for the industry. The obvious threat for this industry has been the lengthy closures. Now, in the last couple of lockdowns, we've seen that they've been able to open and offer takeaway services, which has been really, really positive for many of these businesses, and actually has forced them to think about their businesses in a different way and meant that they can diversify their business offering. And I predict that many will keep these offers of takeaway services when normal business resumes. This has also seen another part of a supporting industry really boom. So the delivery services, the intermediaries like Deliveroo, Uber Eats, and so on. We've seen a proliferation of those kind of businesses flooding the market and also being used by many different food service industry outlets. And of course, the thing that we're looking forward to the most is being able to socialise with friends and family over food and drink out of the home, something that was really very high on the list of priorities before the pandemic and will remain high afterwards. And again, this is just looking at the impact that the industry has endured as a result of COVID-19. So we can see that the solid blue line is the kind of the predicted well, where the industry, the value of the industry was before the pandemic, and it was predicted for every part of the hospitality and the tourism industry, which we'll come on to, that 2020 was going to be a bumper year. It was going to be another year of sustained growth, and sadly, as you can see by the blue dotted line there, this was the actual impact that was had as a result of the pandemic. So on to hotels, let's have a look at the hotel bookings from a global view. If you look at the very last column here, the year to date, you can see on a country by country level the impact that the pandemic's had on hotel bookings. And overall, if we look at the world impact, we're down 47% 2020 compared to 2019. We've only got a little bit of data, of course, so far for 2021, but we can see that that figure continues to fall. So we're currently minus 54% overall. But I'm hopeful to see, as things start to open up again and many different parts of the world are hoping to have a somewhat normal summer season, is the hope, that we'll start to see these figures increase as the year progresses. And of course, as the vaccination programme on a global level progresses as well. So that was one half of the story, hospitality. Now on to tourism. So where are we now with our global international tourism industry? So again, it's been another difficult scenario for the industry. We've lost between 850 million and 1 billion international tourists travelling over the last year due to the pandemic. This means in revenue terms a loss of between 910 billion to 1.2 trillion US dollars in export revenues from tourism. And as a sector globally, we are known as the world's largest employer, but that also means we've been hit the hardest as well, with 100 to 120 million jobs at risk in this sector. So again, another pretty sad story, but from here, hopefully the only way will be up. So we can see that we have a minus 74% change on international tourist arrivals between 2020 compared to 2019 data. This was about what the UNWTO predicted, but not quite as bad as the worst case scenario that was predicted, as you'll see shortly. So again, this shows the country breakdown and the impact that it's had in terms of international tourist arrivals per different countries. And as you can see, United Kingdom's been hit particularly hard, minus 82%, same as Thailand at minus 83%, China at 89%. And as the world, again, we're looking at minus 74% in terms of international tourist arrivals. Now, when travel restrictions are lifted, we've seen this happen before. We've seen this at many different intervals in between lockdowns. People are still keen to get away. In fact, so much so that within one day, around the world cruise lasting 6 months and costing at least £38,000 per person sold out. And we know that cruising has been one of the sectors most hard hit by the pandemic due to the nature of cruising. So there is definitely still hope there. So yes, and those rooms were going for upwards of £78,000 a person in some cases. So there's certainly still a demand for people to get away. So looking at the impact in market value terms on our industry in terms of overseas package holidays, we can see that it's still going to take more than 5 years to recover to pre-2019 levels in terms of market value. So I'm going to focus on the positives here. So looking at the long term, 2 to 5 years, consumers will, I am positive of this, prioritise experiences again. We have been so starved of experiences. We are all zoomed out. We have been on many different conferences, Teams, Zoom, so much. All of our experiences have been taking place virtually. So we will be very keen, those that will be able to book experiences within the travel product sphere. So the main caveat to that, it will take at least this long because of the impact the pandemic has had in terms of employment. So as a result of the pandemic, many people have lost their jobs and therefore their major source of income, and will not be able to spend as much as they maybe once did on travel and hospitality products. So we've never known anything like this before in the modern tourism industry. It is definitely the steepest decline in history. I have some data coming up which compares the impact of the SARS pandemic, which is really the closest thing that we have to compare this data against at the moment. But you will see from that the recovery was far earlier than it has been for COVID-19. Low-cost destinations are likely to increase in appeal once travel restrictions are lifted, for many of the reasons I've already mentioned. And I do also stick by this. So the over 55s, they are still going to be a relatively important demographic for not just the package holiday market, but for most of the tourism markets as well. They will be in many countries vaccinated first, and there's companies such as Saga, cruises who are saying that they have a full vaccination policy. So those that have received their full vaccinations only can travel. So there's companies coming out and saying that passengers will be as safe as they possibly can do in line with the vaccination programmes. There will be a significant rise in demand that's being predicted for rural holidays. So for so long now, we have been kind of conditioned almost to stay 2 metres apart and to keep our distance. And that will take some time for many people to readjust to crowded areas, busy urban centres and these kind of settings, so busy stadiums and this kind of thing. For some, it will be less of an issue, but for others, it will take quite some time to readjust back. So we can certainly predict that there could be a decline in the city break and a movement towards the rural holidays, allowing for more space. So this was what I was referring to earlier. So our worst case scenario was scenario 3 at -78% on the year for 2020, but we ended the year at -74%. So we were somewhere between scenario 3 and 2. And this was, again, the data around SARS. Now, we started to see a recovery in the global tourism industry around month 5 after the SARS pandemic outbreak. So we certainly know that we were nowhere close to seeing a recovery in month 5 compared to COVID-19. So hence the -74% decline. So that's enough doom and gloom. Let's have a focus on restarting tourism. Well, the UNWTO have got a vision called the One Planet vision, and this is where they want to ensure that destinations starting up again are doing so in a sustainable manner. So they have sustainability at the core of their destination planning and development. It's about ensuring destinations are resilient, they can withstand different impacts and events within the external environment, and also they're balancing the needs of their people and also the planet, so environmentally and also in terms of economic prosperity. So it really is this triple bottom line approach to tourism management and planning, which we as the industry have been pushing for so long now. But this is a real moment, this is a real chance where the industry has been forced to push pause on how they're conducting themselves, on how businesses are conducting themselves, and a real opportunity for a change in how we plan things at the very start. So thank you very much for your attention, and there's my contact details in case anyone would like to get in touch with me. And I now welcome questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Alison. Thank you so much for your presentation and for sharing with us what is a very, very interesting amount of data and very good information in relation to the tourism and hospitality industry. Would like to start with one question for you about experiences. Obviously, we would like to share with our students that there are still opportunities, and those who are still thinking of perhaps joining a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in the tourism industry, that need to remember that a bachelor's degree will take them 3 years, and hopefully by the time that they finish their degree, things would have looked so much better. We're looking at 2024, 2025. And for those who are perhaps thinking of doing a master's, taking a year to specialize and learning new skills will help in the recovery of the pandemic in a year's time. And one thing that resonates in your presentation was about experiences, how maybe perhaps the demand for experiences has basically increased. And you mentioned the example of Shangri-La. Could you perhaps tell our students a little bit more about this demand for experiences as an opportunity to restart tourism?
Yeah, and if it's okay, I'm going to just take broaden that question a little bit. I really, honestly, truly believe there's never been a better time to study this subject. My graduates are about to be part of the restart of this industry. I don't think there could be a more exciting time to study tourism and hospitality. You know, these are students that are going to be part of businesses looking for solutions to problems that have been presented to them. These are students that can now spot gaps in the market that have been left by the pandemic, and they're looking to fill them. I've got students that are now about to graduate and starting their very own businesses. And at Coventry University London, we have the Enterprise Hub, which can help with all of these kind of requirements of starting up a new business as well, or expanding current family businesses. So really, I truly believe that there's never been a more exciting time to study the discipline. With regards to experiences, I mean, this again, so pandemics often accelerate things, they accelerate behaviours and things that are happening already. So the fact that we had things like Teams, we were using it already, we just weren't using it to work from home full time. But now we're seeing experiences like things like wine tasting events, champagne tasting events done purely online. In fact, I have one with the Champagne Bureau for my students almost every semester, and we do the champagne tasting masterclass online. And it just means that we've had to rethink how we do things, but it's not going to stop us from doing things. So it's forced us to be innovative and creative with our answers to things, because the Shangri-La could have just done not very much at all for Valentine's Day, but they knew it's a massive opportunity and also a really good marketing opportunity to get people thinking about them, and also to make sure that important dates in the calendar are not just kind of forgotten as well, and that people can still feel that they're very special. So we've got Mother's Day coming up in the UK. I'm seeing lots of different hospitality and tourism companies putting on like virtual events, or they're doing afternoon tea at home boxes, all of these kind of things. So there's been a real demand for it, and I think even when we go back to whatever normal life might look like on the other end of this, the demand for those experiences will still be there. People will still want them as an option, so I can't see them going anywhere either.
Absolutely. I think the hospitality, and particularly the food sector, has been able to respond quicker to obviously the need for perhaps, you know, takeaway or bringing the experience of the restaurants to you, either delivering boxes. I have one of my family members for Valentine's Day for his girlfriend. He got this Michelin star restaurant in Ireland, and they were boxing 7 course meals, basically for you to finish them off at home, and with full instructions on how to present this food as a dining experience at home. And I think that's where they have nailed it, the food industry. And perhaps like things like Shangri-La, they're not food, but they're even the fact that they're sending you the row so you can feel like that at home.
Yeah.
Those are great ideas. And also I know that, for example, Airbnb experiences online, they've created this whole section on their website where if you are looking to not just book a stay somewhere, but also an experience, like there was this one about a farmer in Ireland who will introduce you to the Irish life, and basically give you a brief about Ireland. And it's like you just book a session with him and he will tell you about the history of Ireland, the history of the farm, his family. And I thought, well, how interesting that someone's seen the opportunity that perhaps he had people coming over to visit his farm and the surrounding beautiful area of Ireland. But this way he decided to then show it online, which is something that is happening more and more. So I think students should really like focus on this. Oh, we have a student here asking, will this course start to focus or teach more on local or low-cost hospitality and tourism?
Sorry, local or low cost, was that, Flo?
Yeah, so rather than like overseas and very luxurious, expensive, would then be focusing on the local tourism and low-cost tourism?
It incorporates both. It has to, because it's representative of the whole industry. So we know that certainly a significant proportion for many destinations is the tourism and hospitality products and businesses that are under local control. And certainly this is represented in the UK market. A significant proportion of the accommodation sector is independently owned. So things like guest houses, independent hotels, bed and breakfasts. So these are a significant and very important part of the global hospitality and tourism industry. So absolutely, and as I've mentioned, many of my students have gone on to create their own businesses within the sector or grow existing family businesses as well. So yes, it will.
It will incorporate both. And can you tell us a little bit more about your master's course at London campus? Obviously, we also offer bachelor's courses, but what about your master's course, and how can this help students prepare for their future career in a post-COVID world? If they decide to study this September, in a year's time, what could it look like for them?
Yeah, absolutely, Flo. So there is employability embedded at the heart of this course. So this is a very vocational industry. So we have a really good mix of the academic underpinning, so the academic content that you need to understand for future more strategic roles, but also that is enriched by the employability content. So one of the options that you would have in your final semester would be to complete an internship. So we have links with lots of different hospitality and tourism companies across London, such as the Ritz. We've had very successful placements at the Ritz for our students. Yes, that Ritz. And also other companies like City Cruises, where I've had students planning itineraries. We've had other internships, more virtual internships, which is one of the really exciting things that has come out of the pandemic. So with a company called Ghana 365, and my students have been tasked with trying to market Ghana as a tourist destination for the UK market. So we've had lots of exciting opportunities, and also with some new business startups. So for the student that's asked about the independent side of the industry, we also really support the new business startups. So you could be placed with someone who's just starting out in their business and helping them to build that business, and that would give you excellent experience if you're thinking of doing something similar. There's also a really broad but also targeted curriculum, if this makes any sense. So you will study core concepts like strategy, human resources management, financial management, and operations management for hospitality and tourism. So these kind of key concepts for anybody who's thinking, I might like to be a general manager within a hotel, or operations manager, or something like this. And also those are key concepts that you will need to understand if you're thinking that you'd like to have your own business or develop your own business further. We also have modules in destinations management, events and project management, marketing and consumer behaviour, and also research methods, because this needs to be a really core concept that's understood for you to be successful in your final semester, where you might choose either dissertation, internship, or in the future, we're looking at bringing a simulation module into the master's course as well. We've got lots of exciting developments that are coming forward as part of the master's course as well. I've got lots of exciting things planned for the future.
I can imagine, and this ever so changing and evolving. So I think there's always going to be new things to learn, and our students will benefit from having obviously amazing lecturers like you who have all the experience and have been in this industry for so long. So thank you. One more question I have for you, which is in relation to, obviously COVID-19 has stopped people from traveling overseas, and even before COVID, I think more people were starting to focus more on the sustainability and environment effects of tourism. Is this something that is part of the course as well, having a look at perhaps a more sustainable approach to tourism and travel, where, you know, we look at things that won't impact our environment so much, and perhaps this is an opportunity for people who are doing this course that may want to be entrepreneurial in finding something, you know, everybody likes to know that they're helping the environment, or what they're doing or where they're going is helping the local community. So yeah, pretty much the question is about sustainable tourism and how we can basically go at it in a better and more sustainable way.
Absolutely, yes, is the answer to that, because it's one of my significant research interests. And as course director, I make sure that it is embedded at every opportunity throughout the course, as sustainability should be. It should never be an afterthought, it should be embedded. So within modules such as operations management for hospitality and tourism, we'll look at that from a sustainable angle, and also for destinations management, which I also module lead, it's taught from a sustainable tourism perspective. So absolutely sustainable, or sustainability really in its wider sense, should never be an afterthought. It should be started right at the very beginning of the planning activities, and really be embedded within be it an organisation, be it the plan for a destination, whatever it is, it should always be there right at the very beginning. And it's something that we are seeing greater evidence of, but it's been a slow burn so far, but I do remain hopeful with that. And just to pick up on something else that you'd mentioned, Flo, it was an excellent point. All of our academic staff have experience within the hospitality or tourism industry, or both, and we've all got a significant range of academic qualifications, which are obviously pertinent to the jobs that we do, and we also have really strong links with industry. So you can expect a variety of different guest lecturers and guest speakers to come in, as well as events. So obviously our events have been virtual this year, but when restrictions are kind of alleviated a little bit, then we will see the trips and the visits that we've done previously hopefully return. That is my hope. But I mentioned we've done the virtual champagne tasting masterclass just this week. I've completed a collaborative online international learning project with students at Laura University of Applied Sciences in Finland. So my students in destinations management, they were working in online breakout rooms via Zoom to work with the students in Finland about looking at virtual tourism as an alleviation tool for either over tourism or under tourism in specific destinations. So don't think that the pandemic has stopped us. No, absolutely. We're only just getting started, really.
Exactly. And I think that another point that I would like to just really stress for our students, and I would like you to probably like just explain a little bit further into it, is that if they're going to study a course in hospitality and tourism, there's no better place than London to do it, right?
I would absolutely agree with that, Flo. We know all of our students. So this, to me, as course director, is absolutely critical to my students' success. I and my colleagues, we take our time to learn about our students individually, to learn about them as people, because we truly believe that if we know our students and we look after them well, then their success will follow. So we have really I wouldn't say it's necessarily an open door policy because of how things are at the moment, but you know, our students can always email us. We have meetings with them on Teams. We have office hours. You know, we'll answer any questions they might have. You know, the support at Coventry University London is I've not seen it like this anywhere else. It really is. We put our students first, definitely. They matter.
They matter. They're very dedicated. It's a very personalized approach to learning. But apart from that, they just and it's not that is in London and as a Coventry group as a whole. I am sure that students studying tourism and hospitality degree, being in London, I mean the opportunities, because London is such a amazing place. It's visited by millions of tourists. Obviously, at the moment things are a little bit different, but they will go back. Things will be going back to normal when we had all this amazing number of people visiting every year. And so the opportunities for work, for experiences, for internships, for students being in London, I think there's no time where you don't walk around and there's people with cameras, people like taking pictures before. Like London is just one of those places in the UK and in Europe, I would say, like it's probably one of the most visited cities in the world.
It is, yeah, absolutely it is. And obviously things look a little bit different in London right now, but they won't do forever. It's still an amazing city, and to be in the location that we are in London, right in the city of London, is really very exciting indeed. So I would like to just alleviate anybody's concerns about experiences, these kind of things, when thinking about studying with us this September. My students have have all reported that they are really enjoying the online content. Now, of course, I don't know if we're still going to be completely online by September. We're still waiting for that. Hopefully not, but we'll have to see. But equally, that has really, they've said it's not taken anything away, because they've still had the access to the lecturers, they've still had engaging content online, which has been adapted for online delivery. We're still having the guest speakers and all of these kind of exciting things. So, as I said, we've just embraced the opportunities.
Absolutely. And with that, I really would like just to remind everybody that the applications are open for September. We have as well the provision for both blended learning, which is a half online, half face-to-face. We're hoping that there will be more face-to-face by this time in September here in the UK. With the vaccine rollout, things are looking very positive. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. I mean, Alison very kindly has put her email on the screen for you if you have any more questions about this subject, or if you would like to ask about your application, or if you would like to apply, or any questions about your offer, please contact us on email address I will put on the chat. And I just want to say thank you, Alison, for joining us again.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and hope to visit the London campus soon.
Oh, we'd be happy to have you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.